Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, out and about on another bike review, something very, very special today. I'm on a bike that you don't often get a chance to ride. This is from CCM in the Spitfire range. This is their flat tracker version of the bike, and not only is it one of their limited edition flat trackers, but this is the bike owned by none other than Henry Cole, who's let me out on his pride and joy. So stick around, stay tuned, I'll tell you what I think of the CCM Spitfire Flat Tracker. So what a lovely day to be out riding, and what a nice guy is Henry Cole to let me ride on his motorcycle. So yeah, this is the CCM Flat Tracker, as I say, in the Spitfire range. I don't know if you've seen these bikes before, but they're absolutely beautifully made. They started knocking out the Spitfire range, I think probably about 3 years ago. The original Spitfire came out. They made about, I think, 150 of those or something in a limited run, and they sold like hotcakes. So then they came up with another version. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Scrambler, and then there was a bobber version, and then the Flat Tracker version. They're all made in limited run numbers. I think on the Flat Tracker there are about 250 made, and they're just beautiful, beautiful things. They're the sort of bike that you buy to own and love and cherish. They're an enthusiast bike. They're not a bike you're going to buy to go touring, or a bike you're going to buy to go to work on, although you could do both those things on it. They're a bike you're going to buy to own and love. The machine itself is beautifully made. You'll see some of the trick bits and pieces on it when I do the walk around in a minute and talk you through the spec. But let me go about this in the usual way, as if I would, you know, exactly the same way as I would review any bikes that I ride here on the channel. So what about the riding position on it? Well, very upright, very comfortable actually. Nice wide handlebars on here. Seat is really hard, it has to be said. I'm not sure I want to be riding on it for hours on end. But in terms of the actual, you know, layout of the pegs and the hands and so on, it feels great. It feels quite narrow. My legs are at a slightly acute angle, but it's certainly not sporty feeling. I'm sat upright. And certainly not the riding position is what's going to put you off riding it over a length of time. Hello, sir. Lovely part of the world it is around here. I'm just in sort of West Oxfordshire and the sort of edge of the Cotswolds. It's really lovely around here. Don't know the area at all, so there's a real danger that I'm going to get lost. But what better sort of place to come and ride on a lovely English summer's day. Right, where's this truck going? Right, I'll go the other way, this way. Handling wise, it's lovely and light. It's one of those bikes that actually, although I was a little bit frightened to ride it because it's hairy Larry sort of bike, or it sounds hairy and Larry, actually it's quite easy to ride. It was beautifully light, and the sound of it is absolutely wild. Gearbox is beautiful and smooth actually, much better than I thought. The engine on this is a Husqvarna unit. Let's go down here at the risk of getting horribly lost. So it's out of their one of their proper dirt bikes, and it has that sort of feel about it. And in fact, when you look at the layout of the controls here, and like things like the start and kill switch and so on, and even the little dash, you can imagine these wouldn't look out of place on a Husky proper enduro bike or whatever. And it is a big single, so of course there's plenty of vibration, but that's part of the fun of this sort of bike, isn't it? So yeah, the old vibration through the backside is quite extreme. It's actually quite pleasant, if I'm honest. But the bike just feels like it wants to go. I dare say if you're a wheelie king, which I'm not, this would be an absolute hoot a minute on the back wheel. Right, we're in an unrestricted bit now. Oh, as I wind up, those vibes get even more on the backside. Got some really nice touches on here. Just things like the finish on these top clamps here, and the little bar end mirrors, stuff like that. The leather bound grips. CCM have really gone to business on this. If you've not heard of CCM before, I think it's comes from the original owner, Colin Clues Motorcycles, I think it stands for. Should have done my research on that. And they used to make off-road bikes, that's where they got kind of famous. They disappeared for a while, I think they had some financial difficulties, but they've come back and make various bikes now. But these are the ones, I guess, that, well, to me at least, the most desirable, the Spitfire range. Just the fact they're called Spitfire. Anything called Spitfire has got to be worth checking out, isn't it? Let's just come down through the box. Yeah, the gearbox actually is surprisingly smooth. Again, for a big old thumper, it all works really nicely. How's the front brakes work? Brakes are pretty good on the front. Let's try the rear. I'm never very confident about rears, but actually the rear is... No, our rear's a bit rubbish to be fair, but who needs a rear brake? It's as good as any other bike offering. But for just hooning around these sort of B roads, what an absolute laugh. Right, what I could do with is losing this Golf though. Just opening her up a little bit. Ah, good. He's going to lose me. Let's keep sort of half tabs on where on earth I am. Good neighbours will certainly hear coming on this. Let's wait till I'm out of the village before I go too nuts. Suspension actually, once you're moving, feels alright. When I first got on it, there's so little compression on the seat. It felt solid. And I thought, blimey, there's virtually no suspension, it's going to be a bone shaker. But actually, it's not so bad once you get going on the suspension front. It is firm, but it's not, you know, jarringly firm, like it's going to throw you off the seat or knock your fillings down. Cool, when you change down, I'm in third now, that's when it's a little bit vibey. Right, here we are, a little unrestricted area. Woohoo! Yeah, she goes fine. Better slow down again. A little bit of weave on the front end as you wind her on, actually. Nothing too bad. Maybe something, a bit of adjustment on the suspension, or perhaps a steering damper or something would cure, but as you can tell, a bike that's absolutely full of character. I love it. Right, what I need to do is find somewhere to stop so I can actually show you around the bike, and I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. I very nearly bought one of these, by the way, when these came out. I was that close to putting a deposit down on one, because the new price was £9,999 for a bike which looks like a custom or bespoke made machine, which is an absolute bargain. Also, looks like a great place to do a little walk around. Let's come in here, park up and show you around the bike, trying not to fall off it in the process. Right, now there are a few quirks with the bike which I'll show you in a moment. Things like how you start and stop it, which come partly from, I think it's dirt bike heritage. Let's just get her in neutral. Right, it has got a gear position indicator on here. Finding neutral. Second. Come on. She does not want to find neutral. So having said the gearbox was nice and snickable. Neutral, I think I'm there. Yes, there's sort of a very dim glow about the neutral light, so let's take my hand off the clutch. There we go, we're in neutral. Great. Okay, and to kill her, we've actually got a kill switch, which is sort of hold. There we go, I just hope I can start again. One thing I've got to do, as you can see, the bike is still alive, so I'll just stick her on the stand. And so I don't... the stand is interesting. Come on, come on. It's on a spring that just wants to take it up as soon as you take the weight off, which is fine when you're coming off the bike, not so good when you're getting on. Anyway, if I don't want to run the battery out, what I've got to do is get the little key fob and sort of deactivate the bike. So let's do that now. Henry has given me a teaching all about the quirks of the bike. It's all part of what makes biking fun, isn't it? So you can see the LCD is alive. Somewhere there's a little key fob, here it is. You waggle that about the back end. There we go. Right, now she's off, so the battery's not being drained. Alright, let me get my other camera out then, and I'll show you around this little beauty. I mean, what a cute looking bike, and talk you through the spec. Right, so here she is then, the CCM Spitfire Flat Tracker. Apologies, by the way, it's a little bit windy out here, and I'm using the built-in mic on the camera, so it might be a bit hard to hear me speak. Sorry about that, if it is. Anyway, let me show you around the bike, talk you through the spec in the usual way. Okay, so before I get onto the spec per se, let me just show you some of the details on this bike and what makes it so amazing. Things like, look at the way that this is all machined on here, this front mudguard. Look at these brackets here and the attention to detail in the lights. Oh, it looks absolutely gorgeous, these little tiny LED indicators. Things like these pegs, which I don't think are standard actually, I think Henry's had these put on, but again, these billet milled out brake pedal, etc. These exhausts are just incredible. I love the way that they've got these little hexagon sort of honeycomb affairs at the end. Just a beautifully finished machine, carbon fibre everywhere. The seat might be uncomfortable, but it looks good. This beautiful brushed aluminium tank, and here we can see the Husqvarna engine as well. That's as I say, single cylinder unit, 600cc I think it is. And it's got a 6-speed gearbox on it, puts out 55 brake horsepower or thereabouts, so not super powerful, not going to win too many races, but for this sort of engine, ample, and this sort of bike, such a light bike, 58 newton meters of torque at 5,500 RPM, so dollops of that. You can feel that when you roll it on. It goes really nicely. In terms of brakes, they've got Brembos on the front here, just a single disc. Let me show you. There we go, so proper Brembo brake on there with that sort of pedal disc. And what I love, what they've done on the other side, there isn't a disc. They've got this like this blanking plate that they've sort of milled out this little detail here and written CCM on and got that little Union flag motif. I think it just looks brilliant. Little bits of attention to detail like that I love. Suspension on here, 120mm travel on the front and back, I believe, and it's adjustable as well. You see the adjusters on the top there. If I come around this way, there we go, so fully adjustable. What else can I tell you about it? Oh, the weight, the very important thing. The weight on this is 139 kilograms, so super light. That's the dry weight, but even full, it's not going to weigh too much more than about 150. So that's the beauty of it. You don't need loads of power with a bike this light. It doesn't feel in any way slow. It's a quick machine. Electronics wise, not really much to speak of other than the little LCD display that we looked at earlier and the LED lights on it, and these rather trick headlights as well, which I assume are LED as well, sort of projector type ones, but no fancy riding modes or anything like that. What else can I tell you about it? They come, when you buy them, they come with, I think it's a 2-year warranty. Service intervals are 3,500 miles, so quite low service intervals, but that's down to the type of engine that it is. And I just think it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, let's just, that's it for the spec basically. But if we come round, just look at a few more of these items. So around this side, look, we've got this amazing, this is obviously the carburettor, or the breather rather, which looks really good, the filter. If you look at the welds on this frame, absolutely beautiful. They've not painted the frame or anything, it's just lacquered over the welds, and that shows some confidence in their welding. Let's look at that one, for example. Just a beautiful bit of work. All right, so that's pretty much it for the spec on the little CCM. Let's jump on and ride her some more. So when I say get back on and ride her some more, let me just show there's a bit more involved in getting back on and riding it some more than normal because of the way that the keyless ignition works. So again, she's not active at the moment. You have to stick this on here, like that, on the back. Eventually, it'll come to life. I'm sure of it. There we go, it's come to life, and it's still warm, so I should just be able to hit the start button. Check she's still in neutral. Let's hit the fire button. Loving the noise this thing makes, absolutely superb. And actually, having now got off the bike with it running, I've also noticed the rear light on here looks fantastic. Alrighty, that's enough of that. I'll get suited back up again and let's get back on the bike. Right, let's see if that stand does its thing. Yep, just pops up immediately. Actually, I quite like that. In terms of height off the deck, I'm 5'8" with a 32-inch leg, or 32-inch trouser, if that's the same thing, and I'm on my tippy toes on either side. But it's so light, it just doesn't feel intimidating at all. These little shorty clutch and brake levers on here, which I don't think are standard, but are rather cool. Right, now, next challenge is finding out where the heck I am. I must say, of course, a massive and huge thank you to now my mate Henry Cole for letting me borrow his motorbike. What a lovely fellow, as I say, to let me come and have a ride on this. When else would I get the chance to ride a bike like this? It's an absolute cracker. Henry himself, sadly, because he's got so many bikes and he's so busy making his TV programmes, doesn't get to ride it too much. As you can see, this one's done 312 miles, and I think he's had it for a fair few months now. So Henry, if your bike ever needs an exercise, just let me know. I'll come and give it a ride for you. Bit of a line of angry looking clouds up there. I'm recording this at the back end of August, and well, as you can see, it's basically a lovely day for riding. It's about 20 degrees, not too hot, not too cold. Very few things I'd rather be doing than riding an English motorcycle on an English country lane on a day like this. I can only really think of one thing. I'll let you work out for yourself what that might be. Oh look, there's a van! Just when I thought the coast was clear, I come up against my first, not white van, silver van round here, slightly different in Oxfordshire than Buckinghamshire, but nonetheless the effect is the same. Hey ho, can't have it all. So what are my closing thoughts then on the CCM Spitfire Flat Tracker version? Well, as you've gathered, I love it. As I mentioned, I very nearly bought one of these myself when they're available. They're all sold out now, of course. Well, I think they are. So it's probably quite hard to come by if you want to get hold of one. But if you've got a space in your garage and money burning a hole in your pocket and you fancy a fun motorcycle, this is a great option. It's a proper, what I would call old school, back to basics motorcycle. And that's not to decry it in any way. It's a lovely thing to ride. You saw the engineering on it. It's beautifully made. What I mean is, it's visceral. You know that you're riding it. It's got the vibrations that a bike should have, but it's so light and handles so beautifully. Can't really see too much in the way of shortcomings other than the seat, which is flipping uncomfortable, to be fair. But who cares when you're having such a good time? The sound of it is ace. And these are, as I say, other than that Husqvarna engine, they are thoroughly British bikes. They're made in a factory up in Bolton, I believe. So great if you're into the whole patriotism thing, which I am. I've got a thing about British bikes, and this is definitely one of them, if we just gloss over the engine. What a laugh. Well, what a great bike that is. Thank you again for Henry for letting me have a ride of it. And thank you for CCM for making it. It's a lovely bit of kit. I've really enjoyed my little brief ride on it here this afternoon. Great stuff. Hope you've enjoyed that. I don't just do bike reviews here on the Essendon Flyer, but I try and cover all sorts of stuff. I do trips and tours at home and abroad. I do items on how to look after your bike, the odd bit of maintenance if I dare in the garage. I do bike news features, and I even do the odd live stream once a month. So if you've not subscribed to the channel already, it'd be great if you hit that subscribe button down below, and that way you'll get notified of my next video. Alright, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Essendon Flyer. Cheerio. Blimey, solid, isn't it? Wild. Right, see you later. Cheers.